Nonsensical bullshit.
Nonsensical bullshit.
That's pretty
Paul
good.
McCartney.
Is that Paul? Is that Ringo? That's probably more Paul, wasn't it?
Yeah. One of them. I mean,
that's one of them.
Yeah.
It was the what was that movie with
Yesterday.
I'm not gonna be able to remember it. It was
Dynamite drop in, Ronnie. I just love playing that drop on Pepe.
Here we go. We're live, boys.
Oh,
are we?
Yes.
That was a strong bendy.
That was a good one.
The Dodgers are back in the win column, so we had to give a strong bendy, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Review, a Thursday edition of the Blue Review, April 10th. Dodgers get the win 6-5, so we are here to react just as we are every day, 8:30 to 8:55. So hop on in the chat, send us some questions, all that good stuff, and we will get to it. I'm alongside Greg Bergman and Marcus Grant. I kind of did the fingers right this time.
Yeah, well, it's
went off
getting better
a bit, but it's getting better. Yes,
and
yes.
And your cell in there, where you're at your house, the empty walls, nothing, your blank white walls.
So I'm in the home. I'm from remote. I'm going to join for the Wabba Girl drop off later today, but I had to start my day at home. I'm actually moving, so that's why there's blank walls and everything.
Where are you
coming into more annoying than moving? That moving sucks.
It really does. I'm coming up to LA to be closer to work because I live there already anyways. So
probably the right move. Good for you. I mean, you were down in the OC area, and it's a long drive into downtown LA every single day.
Kills me every morning, Marcus. But how are we doing today, guys? Marcus, the Dodgers get the win. Just wanted to see how the morale is.
It's good. Look, a win is always good. Never going to complain about that. It was definitely more stressful, I think, than you would expect from a win or a game in early April. I don't know, Greg. The emotions sort of range, right? It was like they put up 4 in the first inning. That's amazing. Then they give up 3 in the bottom of the first. And after a couple innings, they're down 5-4, and it stayed that way for a while. And then they take the lead again. Yay! And then Blake Trinan white knuckles it through the 9th inning, and they barely hang on for the win. But in the end, it was just nice. They end the 3-game losing streak. They avoid the sweep in Washington, and now they get a day off. They get to come back home. So in the end, it's all good. We got 20 some odd minutes to sort of pick apart what went wrong there, but the overall result is a positive one.
The overall result is a positive. I think there's some stuff with Blake Trinan that we should get into. I think there's stuff with Andy Pajes that we need to get into. But for the most part, look, it just feels good to be back in the win column. And you did see at the beginning of the game, I guess there was something. Did we talk about this yesterday? That Dave Roberts said that you're going to see a different team this year, starting today. And they did. Then they came out and scored 4 runs, and then Landon Knack showed that he's still Landon Knack and is not going to pitch all that great all the time. I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest thing out of me that you mentioned was Trinan. Something's going on with him. He has a tendency to go good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year kind of deal. And since the World Series, when he was struggling down the stretch too, but he was so massive, he's been struggling, and he has been struggling this year too, Marcus.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of command at some point.
Yeah,
right? There's so much movement on everything he throws that it does feel like it's sort of like a golf swing, right? Where one little thing is out of whack and everything sort of falls apart, and you wonder, I don't know if it's a mechanical issue, if it's a grip thing, or what it is, but it just seems like something isn't quite right. And as you see with pretty much every pitcher, right? You fall behind, you're struggling with command. Then opposing hitters they just decide, well, I'm going to just sit and wait. And when I find something over the heart of the plate, then I'm going to attack and I'm going to crush it. Now, in his defense, not all of it was his fault. I mean, there was that pop-up that looked like it should have been caught and somehow lands in a triangle between Pajes, Edman, and Teoscar, I guess it was, or Conforto out there.
I think it was Teoscar.
It was a Teoscar, okay. Yeah. But whatever. It was a ball that looked very catchable. If the Dodgers make the play on that, there's 2 outs and there's nobody on, and they probably don't run into this heart attack that they ran into yesterday. But, on the other part of it is Treinen also sort of compounded the problem by not really being effective and not being pinpoint in that one. So again, in the end, it all sort of worked itself out, which, by the way, shout out to Teoscar Hernandez, who made a fantastic play.
Great play at first base.
The diving stop and getting the force out at second base, to really, sort of help that inning calm down a little bit. But yeah, no, I do think there's something about Treinen. I'm still willing to give it, another outing or two before I really start to raise a red flag about it. But yeah, it definitely at this point is a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I don't think it's a red flag just yet, too. And his numbers are pretty good, obviously, but it's the guys on base. It's the Kenley Jansen factor of it, that it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster right now. He is giving up hits. When he's going good, he is almost unhittable because of that movement that you were talking about. He is walking guys more at a higher clip that I've seen from quite some time. I think he has 3 or 4 walks on the season now. And that's just something that he typically doesn't do. So it just seems like something that will come around eventually. He still has some of the most nasty stuff that there is, and I know he's going to be just fine. But, just something, like you said, just something to kind of watch over and maybe give him a little bit of a rest here and there.
And it also could be the factor that just there's a little more pressure on him, just knowing that, hey, I don't have all my guys just yet. I'm still waiting on Kopech, still waiting on some of those heavy arms. And, Greg, actually, you talked about this earlier on the Blue Review, earlier in the Blue Review season. We watched that Fight for Glory. And
so good.
I just recently finished it. And on the topic of Treinen, he was a major, you got to hear his voice talking through the process about that specific closing out that 8th when he was, a little shaky, and then he had to keep his composure and close out. And that's kind of what we're seeing from Treinen. He still stays calm, cool, collected, even when maybe he's kind of losing the command a bit. And we talked right after the game, Greg and I in the office. The Kenley Jansen factor is a perfect kind of example where he is dominant.
Was that me or was that you? Did you say Kenley Jansen? I take that?
I think I brought it up to you just saying wow, it felt like a Kenley game. And then we just kind of had that discourse.
I'm stealing Parker's stuff, so my bad.
How the tables have turned.
What I did think was interesting real quick about this too is, they go and they take the lead. In the 7th, Pages hits his second home run in as many days. They get the go-ahead run there. And Dave Roberts comes out with Tanner Scott in the 7th inning. And that felt like it's not a panic move. It's April. But it was very much like hey, we're scuffling right now, and we need to make sure we have a shutdown inning, that we lock the Nationals down and give ourselves a real chance to get out of this skid. Because I was surprised to see Scott at that point in the ball game. Normally, that is where you turn to a Vesia, maybe they used Bonda earlier in the game. But it surprised me to see Scott at that point, and that just felt like Dave Roberts saying, "You know what? To hell with this. We have the lead. Let's try and make sure we get a win."
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty interesting because Tanner Scott. I mean, I've always thought that the Dodgers specifically don't have closers, especially over the last 5-6 years. Ever since Kenley, they have not had a closer. It's just been by committee. Phillips was the de facto closer at one point. I thought they were bringing in Tanner Scott to be the closer, and this is just proving that he is going to be just like everybody else. If you need you in the 7th, you're going to pitch in the 7th. If we need you in the 8th, we're going to need you. Hell, if we need you in the 4th, you're going to pitch in the 4th. It doesn't matter because we have so many guys in this pen that can come out and close games and have been closers in the past that it just doesn't matter where you go. You're in there for specific 3. Like, we want you to get 2, 3, 4 out. We want you to get 1, 2, 3 out. And I really, really thought that Scott was going to be the closer, and he's just not. Mm-hmm. And I love it. I love the way that the Dodgers work their bullpen.
Yeah. Gates picked up the W, so it's just another example.
Yeah, well, I think to that point too, right? I mean, we're already talking about how they're using, Treinen and Scott, and Phillips is going to be back. Kopech is going to come back. At some point this season, they hope to get Brusdar Graterol back. So these are all guys too that you just add to the mix that can kind of shuffle some things around, right? So, don't be surprised if we see, Scott in the 7th, Treinen in the 8th, Kopech in the 9th, or some combination thereof. Again, we sort of joked about this. It's why if you play fantasy baseball, Dodger closer is not really a position you want to fool around with, because you don't know. You don't know who's going to be getting the saves on this team on a consistent basis. So, but the upside for us, for real baseball, is that it has worked, and for now, it continues to work.
Yeah, you bring up fantasy baseball. I actually think you and I, when we first started working together back in like 2009 at Sporting News Radio, we were the fantasy guys.
Yeah,
we were for baseball. We had to write like these little things for fantasy baseball, pick 2 guys, something like that. I think that's right. And I actually think that Dodger closers have value if you take Dodgers guys, because you're going to get both. You're going to get holds and saves, and every guy that if Tanner Scott gets 25 saves, he's also going to have 25 holds. Like there's value in all of that. So I mean, that doesn't matter for real life baseball, but for fantasy baseball, it does.
I saw him play fantasy baseball in a while. I mean, Parker, I know you still play. Is the hold rule still as ridiculous as it was? Where like, if you come in with like a 6-run lead, you give up 5 runs, like you still get a hold like that.
It hasn't changed.
As long as you held the lead.
Yes. All right, great.
Yeah. So if you have a 6-run
could even get holds. Yeah.
So if you gave a 6-run, if it was a 6-run league and you give it 5 runs, but you still left the game with the lead in the game, do you still get a hold? That's the stupidest rule ever. You're not holding blank.
Yeah, you haven't really held much of anything, but okay, sure.
So on the other end, guys, there's a lot of like bullpen talk I know we're going to get into all season, especially as the names you mentioned come back, Marcus. But on the other end, we're going to get into Pages, but let's jump on a Teoscar first. 3 RBIs, continues to just be an absolute machine. Greg, I mean,
I love him.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's not much more to say about him, but what did you see last night specifically?
He's just a professional hitter. This is the reason that we got him last year. The reason that you give him the deal that everybody wants to give him. We talked about it, the very beginning of Blue Review last year with you, Marcus. It was he's my favorite. He's going to be something big. He's going to be amazing. I really, really love this signing. And he's been nothing but fantastic for the Dodgers, and he continues to be fantastic. Knowing when he's up to the plate, I just feel like something good is going to happen, no matter what it is. He does swing wildly at a couple of pitches out of the box way too often, but you're like, it's okay. It's Teo, so I think I just enjoy when he comes up to the plate.
Absolutely, and I think this goes to. Again, we talk about how deep this team is in the lineup, and we saw in stretches last year where maybe a lot of guys are scuffling, but it's going to be rare where you have 9 guys in this lineup that are all struggling at the same time. And they have those guys that can sort of carry the offense for a while until everybody else gets back together again. I mean, we've seen Shohei do it. We've seen Mookie do it. We've seen Freddie do it. Teoscar right now is that guy, right? Where, we're still waiting for Freddie Freeman to come back. We're waiting for Max Muncy to break out of whatever funk he's in right now. But in the meantime, you got Teo, who very nearly single-handedly brought them back in Philadelphia and almost won a game for them against the Phillies. And then in this series, where the offense was sort of lackluster, to say the least, it was Teo who kind of kept them afloat. And while they only won 1 of the 3 games, They were in pretty much every ball game, in large part because Teoscar Hernandez was swinging a hot bat.
Because Teo is Teo.
Yeah, sorry, I was making sure to put out a push tweet for us. Teo,
thank you,
Teo, and I think that just like looking at his energy as well, this is something that we've harped on for so long. I mean, that is a guy who can carry you through a season, even if he wasn't hitting. Let's just say, God forbid, knock on wood, he was hurt. He can still carry a team in ways that do not show up on a stat sheet. And Greg, I know that's partially why he's also one of your favorite players.
Yeah, because he's just such a good energy, and he's such a good person for the dugout, for the clubhouse. He's the guy that's leading all of these charges with the sunflower seeds and just like leaning on Shohei, and he's just that kind of that glue. He's a sense of a leader he's a vocal leader more than some of these other guys. You got to be the best player on the team to be the true leader, right? Like Shohei, Mookie, Freddie are the leaders, but they're more quiet. Teo's outspoken, and he's going to get there. I just love what Teo brings just to the entire team, on, off field, in the dugout, in the clubhouse, all of it, because guys like him help make the season go by faster for them.
Teo feels like the guy that, like every middle school, every high school has that student that everybody in the school knows them, like for positive reasons and likes them. Teo feels like that guy. And it's the little thing. It's learning Japanese and teaching Shohei Spanish so that they can communicate. It's the sunflower seeds. Like honestly, this team was so workmanlike for years where they hit a home run and like maybe there's a mild celebration, but then they just go back about their business and they get back in the dugout. Like Teo on the top step throwing sunflower seeds at guys sort of gives them a different energy and gives them new life. And so I think you're right. I think he's that guy. I think in some ways he sort of replaces what Justin Turner brought to this team, where, JT, I don't think was rarely, if ever, the best player on the team, but he was always an incredibly productive member of the team, but also was sort of the heartbeat, right? He was sort of that guy that would get teammates fired up when they needed to. And I think after Turner left, they were sort of missing that for a year or two. And it does feel like Teo has filled that gap.
Yeah, he gives them a personality. I mean, they're very, you called them workmanlike. They're very much like the Patriots were under with Brady and Belichick. That they just went out there and they've just played the game. They played it how they were supposed to get to the end to win Super Bowls. This is what the way, and the Dodgers got a lot of slack from us, from fans, from everybody. You look into the dugout and they have no emotion whatsoever. Whether they're up 5 or they're down 5, there was no emotion, and what Teo brings is that emotion, that personality. It's a great thing, Parker.
Yeah. And while everybody's maybe struggling, there's a lot that the chat is talking about in terms of Muncy, and we've mentioned names. Teo has 3 homers in the last 4 games, so that just also helps. It's very big to see stuff like that.
Speaking of home runs, how are we feeling about Pages now after the last 2 days, Greg?
All right, so look, I had held off on making my villain. I had this conversation with Dead Meow on Twitter that not the villain yet, and he's still not. I don't know if this is going to hold. I still have my doubts about Andy Pages, but if he can continue to hit the ball with regularity and also play he's been better in center field. He had a really nice diving grab in center that probably saved possibly a couple runs. That makes a big difference. If he's playing a good center field and he's finding his bat a little bit, then maybe there's something to be looking towards. Maybe that day off that Dave Roberts gave him is going to do something. Maybe that hug that he gave him in the dugout when he was so distraught for being an idiot on that Bryce Harper ball, like maybe that can help. Whether or not it actually does, we still have time to see. But this is why I say I held off on making him my villain, Marcus.
Yeah. Dave Robert hugs are magical, huh? Dave Robert hugs, they fix a lot of things apparently. Look, I did say yesterday I thought maybe the day off was good for him, right? It seemed like he was very much in his own head, and it felt like it was sort of compounding some of the mistakes, and then throwing the fact that he was pressing at the plate, and now in back-to-back days, I mean, it helped that on both those days he got hanging sliders, but to his credit, he went out and he crushed them. So, I still think he sort of is who he is. He's still going to have those weird moments in center field. He's still going to have some sort of bad at bats, but again, he doesn't have to be great. He just has to be good enough. And the last couple of days, he's been good enough. And once everybody starts filling in the gaps around him, it's a nice eraser to sort of, overlook, I guess, some of the mistakes.
And especially from that 9 spot, we talk about that 9 spot so much on the Blue Review that it's so important. So like when Tommy Edman was down there, that was just a secondary leadoff hitter. That's what we wanted from Gavin Lux for so long. If Pages can be somebody that can move the line along in that 9 spot, even though he moves around, but for the most part in that 9 spot, it really, really helps out the offense. That 9 spot's important. So, he doesn't always have to hit home runs. It's not about hitting the home run, just getting on base, moving the line along, singles, doubles, just get on base, get that on base percentage in the 350 range. That's what I want to see from him.
Yeah. So I saw a quote last night from Pages specifically, and I'm actually happy that we went from Teoscar into Pages because there's a whole nugget about their relationship that maybe we can get into here on the Blue Review. But he said last night, since spring training, the team told him that the spot wasn't secure. So he was talking in Spanish, obviously, that he had to go win the job. So his stress was accumulated. And I think that, this is him mentioning in those early games, not getting the results, his stress accumulated even more. And now he's feeling a little free that he was able to get it off his chest, get that weight off of him after that home run earlier and then the home run yesterday. So in this scenario, Greg, is this a situation where we have a young, Cuban player, he's only 24, who's kind of struggling to, be comfortable, even though they won the World Series, it still can be a struggle when you don't have a spot secured. Getting a guy like Teoscar to mentor him, do you see that Pages maybe could actually turn things around maybe more than we thought?
Sure. I mean, I think that he has the tools to be
Right.
a really good baseball player. He has a lot of power. We've seen in the last 2 days that he can turn on some sliders, can hit home runs. He's done it throughout since he came up last year. He has a cannon, an absolute cannon for an arm in center field. That is such a big thing to have in center field, to be able to throw guys out at home or toss guys out at first or third. It makes a big difference. So if he can figure himself out and learn to play the position of center field, and if Teo can mentor him to be better, I absolutely love it. Look, just because someone's a villain doesn't mean that I don't want them to succeed. Vezia was my villain, and I was super happy that he succeeded and got better. That's a great thing. So no matter what, if he can figure himself out, that's just good for the Dodgers, and that means that's good for us.
Yeah, and I think, look, I think what you heard from Pages about that pressure and those struggles, I would suspect there were a handful of guys in the organization that have felt that, right? I would think James Outman is very in tune with that sort of feeling, right? Knowing that when you're there, you don't have a lot of time. Look, I would say that, Justin Robleski understands that. Landon Knack probably understands that. These guys who want their shot with this organization to be part of this success have chances to go and play in and win World Series, but understanding that your margin for error is very slim, because not only are there guys on the major league level, on the major league club, who very well will take that spot, but there are guys behind you in the minor leagues who are also itching to move up and take those spots as well. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, I think for the organization, it's sort of a good thing, because you are kind of putting players in positions where they feel like they need to be successful. For the player, yeah, there is that sort of added pressure. Not all guys can handle that. Sometimes you sort of need maybe a little bit of a breathe. I mean, I think that with Cody Bellinger, right? When he had a couple of good years and then things went sideways, and I think the pressure in LA sort of mounted on him to the point that he needed to maybe have a conscious uncoupling with the Dodger organization. Now, for Cody, I don't know if it's worked out well. He should also stay away from chicken wings, but
right.
But
well, 5 years at least.
Yeah, exactly. But beyond that, I mean, I think there's something to that, and I think for Pages, I think having just that opportunity to sit and exhale a little bit kind of let him clear his mind, and he had a couple of good days after that.
See, I think you make a great point too about the guys in the minor league system. We talk so much about the minors and how there's so many guys down there that are trying to get up. They're all blocked. Everybody's blocked. But you know who's not blocked? Somebody that is a center fielder. Anybody in every single realm of the Dodgers minor league system is looking at center field and saying, I could play that position. That's my position, or even second base. But center field, they're like, if I can be a great defender, if I can hit, if I can be a part of this team, I could be the future center fielder, because there's nobody currently that is just tying that position down, because Edman's going to bounce around. He's going to move to where they probably want him in second base or in center field. But for the most part, they could, if somebody comes up from the minors that is just a great center fielder, they're getting a spot.
Yeah. And we know that that's a great point, Greg. And we know that things are also going to just change, as we get maybe a Ha-Seong Kim call up and we get Tommy in the outfield and we start kind of tweaking around that defense. So you might not even see Pages as a regular day starter, which is something that we envisioned already going into this season. But on the flip side, to see an aggressive Pages is a positive sign for the Dodgers, because if you can turn around that stress that he mentioned and turn it into motivation to be one of the better hitters, power hitters, in this team, maybe not the league, but a great power hitter, then that's great for Dodgers and great for Dodgers fans. But so before we kind of close out here, Greg, anything we should look out for tomorrow? No game today, but do we get to see Yamamoto on the bump? I know we were kind of
Nope.
Okay,
So it's Sasaki, Glasnow, May over the weekend, and then I think Yamamoto's on Tuesday. So they basically just skipped Yamamoto's his start, which I don't really know why. I'd probably need to do a little more research into that. But the fact
it
is
still
that
says Yamamoto on ESPN, so I'll have to. I know the Dodgers.
from what I saw, it was Sasaki over the weekend on Friday, but maybe it is Yamamoto. Either way, I think it's more that Blake Snell is not going to throw until Monday. That's something that is kind of concerning. At least the fact that Dr. Neil Elatrage is saying that it's just some time off and he's just shoulder inflammation. It's nothing more positive. But if you're not throwing till Monday, there's kind of this little bit of, okay, is there something actually going on?
There's that, and I mean, I know the outlook right now seems positive, but I think generally, if you're a baseball fan, you just don't want to hear the name Dr. Neil Elatrage. Like he's very good at his work.
It's shoulder and not elbow, so that's the only thing I like. But
yeah, I mean, he's very good at his work. But usually, if you're a baseball fan and you are hearing or reading that name, more often than not, it's bad news for your team.
Yeah. And another name we never mentioned as we close out is Bobby Miller. I think he walked 8 batters in 9 2/3. So who's going to be that backfilling spot until Snell gets back? We'll see, because some guys.
Could be Tony Gonsolin. He had a good outing yesterday, so could be Gonsolin.
I think he struck out 7 in 3 innings or something like that. So
14 whiffs. Yeah.
So Gonsolin is the guy that we should be paying attention to. He was going to win that 5th spot until he just had an itch. Yep. So Gonsolin.
Keep an eye out, everybody. We will be reacting to that on the Blue Review here. But we're going to close out. So producer Jonathan, I know you're back there somewhere. You're good to close us out. Thank you to LAX. And Greg, yes. Sorry.
I'm just letting you know. Sorry, chat. You're going to have to deal with me for another 3 hours as I'm sitting in with Travis Rogers. So Travis and myself on Travis and DeMarco. Plan your YouTube as you wish. If I'm going to be there, so just deal with it. Thanks.
Don't go anywhere. Stay here on ESPN Los Angeles. Thank you to Marcus. Thank you to Greg. Thank you in the chat. And of course, we see in the chat there. Thank you to LAX. So we will see you tomorrow, 8:30 to 8:55. Catch you later.
Bam, bam. Ba-da-da.
Maybe I will text him because we're still on screen.
Hey, rhyme. Nicely done.
Well, hope everyone's day is going to go well. And
really, I do have to get into the studio, so I'm going to leave.
Yeah,
you have this nice, beautiful background for just you guys where I can go into the studio. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks, Parker.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
There we go. All right, we're clear.